Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name's Tom. I'm part of the recruitment team here at Norwich University of the Arts. We're going to be getting started in just a moment. We're just admitting people, and we'll continue admitting people throughout the opening of this presentation. So just to initially introduce things, thank you so much for joining us for this third Ignite talk. I'm going to just go through some house rules in just a moment, but just to say this is part of the Take Your Place or NICO project series, which is an organisation that works with students from year 9 up to kind of foundational level, and that's supporting students to get into creative higher education. So this is a project that Norwich University of the Arts is doing in collaboration with NICO. So I'm going to be handing over shortly to Savio, who's going to be running us through his career in fashion. But before I do, I'm just going to share some house rules with you, and then I'll hand over. So we'd be grateful if you could please ensure that your audio and video remains muted for the duration of the session. Savio will be presenting for around 30 minutes, and following this, he'll look to answer your questions. So please send us those questions via the chat function that you'll find on the lower toolbar. We may be in this session for up to around 45 minutes, but we'll make sure that we finish at 4:15. If you have any technical problems or your internet connection drops out, we'll try to reconnect for around 5 minutes, but we will cancel the session if we can't reconnect for around 5 minutes. Our apologies if this does happen, but we will look to get recordings over to people if our internet goes down or your internet goes down as well. Lastly, if you hear anything inappropriate or have any questions or concerns, or even have a situation at home that you need to notify us about, please don't hesitate to message me on the chat, privately on the chat, and we'll look to make sure that we assist you. So that's it from me for the moment. I'm going to hand over to my friend Sav, who's going to introduce himself to kick off today's session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me on. My name is Savio Thomas. I am a newer fashion graduate, currently working as a digital pattern cutter. Today, I'll be sharing how I got into fashion and where I studied and what I finally do at M&S.
Great, thanks, Sav. Can you kick us off by just telling us a bit of your background and how your kind of interest in fashion began?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I put together a few images just to talk me through, how it all started. The image on the left was my first photo Mom ever shared with me, and then basically I was born in New Delhi, back in India, and then when I was 3 years old, we moved back to Kerala, which is the bottom right of the map, bottom left of the map, where I grew up until I was 16. So everything kicked off when my auntie, who was a next door neighbor, who's really into embroidery, painting, and it just sort of sparked a curiosity in me, and I just hung around with her quite a lot, and she just sort of showed me how to do embroidery. It's just fascinating how a piece of thread can create an art on a canvas. In this case, it was a piece of sari. So that was the initial sort of starting point in terms of thinking, oh, I want to go into fashion. I want to do something towards fashion.
Great, thank you, mate. So you came over to the UK when you were around 15, 16.
Yeah.
And how was the adjustment to, from coming from Kerala, coming over to the UK? How was that, and where did you study?
Yes, of course, yeah. So I started my sixth form at Downham Market in Norfolk, in King's Lynn. It was, I mean, so strange, new country, everything brand new, was extremely, I wasn't confident enough at all to go and talk to people. So it was 2 years at sixth form. I studied maths, physics and textiles. My dad was wanting me to do engineering and Mum wanted me to go into the medical field. We sort of broke halfway through, and I said, I'll do maths and physics, but if I can do textiles. So that was the first starting point. And And I mean, I have to say that I did not make any friends at all when I was in sixth form, because I was so shy and didn't want to go up to anyone and talk to people. From there on, I started my BTEC Fashion and Clothing at College of West Anglia in Wisbech. At the same time, I started Pizza Hut. That was my first ever job. I still remember, initially I was really shy in the kitchen, doing some pot wash, people coming up to me and asking me things, and I had to go and, answer people, and I had to communicate with them, and I had to engage with them. That sort of got me out of my shell. I am grateful to Pizza Hut for doing that. I don't think where I would be if I wasn't for that. So I actually worked there all through my university as well for 7 years. So that was a good shot. So from there, the right two pictures, it just sort of shows that, you got to have fun while you're working and studying as well. You just got to get your mates around, do some fun bits. If you can't guess, I am the Scooby-Doo on that picture. And also squash. Discovering squash was one of the best things. I always say you have to find an outlet, it could be yoga or running or walking or whatever it might be. Having that outlet to let off some steam is always a good choice. And on there, I put out step out of your comfort zone. I could have easily just go into a cocoon mode and just didn't speak to anyone, but I didn't do that. And I had to go out there, and I wasn't put into situations that. But then again, if you don't go out of your circle, you don't know what's out there. So that was my initial studying and learning bit, and then from there on, I went to NUA.
Great, thank you. So you've talked to us a little bit about kind of social life, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what you learned from university, really. So
yeah.
The skills you picked up and how it kind of changed your career goals and ambitions in particular.
Of course, yeah. So from after my BTEC course, I knew I wanted to go into textiles or fashion. I wasn't really sure what are the differences. So I applied for a few courses, and I actually went for a textile course at NUA, started a textile course at NUA. It was amazing, amazing experience. As you can tell, I didn't finish the course. I'd done first year. I really learned a lot. There was, skills like screen printing, knitting, and mark making, which I would have never learned if I wouldn't have gone there. The image on the left is after a knitting sort of session with one of the tutors. I thought I want to, experiment with it. I just want to try something a bit different. So I went to the local hardware store and bought some copper wire and some beads, and sort of like start knitting with copper wire and beads. It's not something you see every day, clearly. So, there was a little collar I made as an accessory to go for an outfit. So after I realized that textiles wasn't for me, because it was more about making these samples rather than creating a product itself. So I decided that I'll take a year out. I'll go back into doing fashion at NUA. There I learned about pattern cutting, illustration, sewing, and also by writing dissertation, it improves your research skills as well. So, it's not just the creative skills you learn, it's everything from writing as well as communication, how to work in an environment where, you're all put into a group. So it's all about teamwork. And also I had really good tutors at NUA. So I had my tutor, Kevin and Roger, especially. They were a massive inspiration for me. And I still remember what Roger said towards the end of my final year, and not to be disheartened by how long it may take to get a job, and never to give up and always keep pushing. So, it's something is very touching to me still.
Right. So I just wanted to pick you up on something, and we've got a series of questions that we're kind of going through to help with the cohesiveness, but I'm going to go off piste a little bit, because you spoke about going into textiles first and then going on to fashion when you discovered that textiles wasn't for you. What would you recommend to someone that's unsure about what course to go into, so they don't end up in that position of kind of spending that extra year?
I think it's more about doing more research, you know. I mean, for me, because I was so new at the time, especially coming from India, not having to know how the education system exactly works, and not doing enough going around to uni, talking to students there, you know, the students who are already there, they know exactly what they're going through. So just go up there and go to open days, go and talk to people, ask plenty of questions, and exactly know what you're wanting to do and what you wanting to get out of it. But then that is not to say that, you know, if you made a mistake, just try and rectify it straight away. So as a quote I put there, take as many goes as it takes to get it right. So which is about, I mean, I knew I didn't get it right on the first time around. So, you know, I could have easily said, oh no, I don't think this is cut out for me. But no, it sort of shows that that's exactly what I want to do. And, you know, it may take longer than, you know, just one stab at it. So, but it's all about persevering with it and trying to get it right.
Yeah, sure. And so in terms of that, you've mentioned some of the skills that you learned at university, and we were talking before, and you were saying like something that university is great for is being able to push your creativity.
Of course,
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you did?
Of course, so university is where, you know, you can be, you can let your creativity take control of the driving seat. You know, it can go as crazy as you want. In fashion, they use the word avant-garde. So it's all about going above and beyond. Or my final collection here at a newer fashion design degree, it shows the, you know, it doesn't have to be the usual fashion of clothing stitched together. It can be more than just that. So I've used laser cutting and weaving, and just to create texture. So it may not be that later on when you start your career that you can't exactly express your creativity as so much, but again, depends upon what brand or you go into. I can talk about it a bit more later, but at M&S, there are things to, you know, there are boxes that you have to sit within. You can't really go outside of that box, because it's you're looking for a mass market. You're not looking for yourself. At newer, teachers always were really good at pushing you to get the best out of you, and, you know, to show that creativity and really a lot of freedom as well.
Yeah. So university gave you the chance to push your ideas, to be creative, to explore methods and techniques and different ways of making and thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But how did you then, you mentioned about kind of putting things into boxes a little bit more for industry. How did you bridge that gap from going to university and being experimental and playful, and then going to industry where you had to be a lot more kind of regimented and work with their technologies and their systems and processes? How did you adjust to that way of working?
Because the other thing that you need to think about is at university, anything you make is not going to be consumed for the bigger market. Outside of that, you know, four walls at university, you might wear it, you might get a photo shoot like you can see on the screen. But then when you start a job, people are there just to keep you in line, sort of thing. You know, there are 20, 30 or more people get involved in designing one product. It could be in a different job roles, which I can talk about it a bit later. So they all sort of police you in a way that, you know, it sticks with that brand. I'm not saying that if you go into a big designer like Gucci or Balenciaga, you know, you can be as crazy as you want to be within design and creating that style or look or whatever you might be going for. But at the end of the day, it's all about learning the key skills like illustration or designing or sketching, pattern cutting, or sewing. It's all about learning the key skills. That's what the university lets you do. And that's where those are the things that you can take to your next career or next when you start your career, wherever it might be.
Yeah, cool. So can you tell us then, so you've gone from university, how what did you do to start off with when you first took your first steps into industry? What did that look like?
Yeah, cool. So I put together a slide where shows you where I worked and sort of my journey through that. After graduating in 2017 summer from NUA, I decided that I want to apply for plenty of jobs. I want to try to get into fashion as soon as possible, and I think I would have applied for over 200 jobs. Every weekend, I'll just come and have a look and just try and apply for as much as I can. Everyone was asking for experience. It's a catch-22 where it's hard to get experience to apply for a job. So especially when you're starting out, getting that foot in the door. So as a fashion graduate, it is expected to you're expected to do an internship. In most cases, they are unfortunately not paid. So I was lucky enough that my parents in Kings Lynn let me stay here rent-free, and I was working at Pizza Hut 3 or 4 days, and then I would and I managed to find an internship at Phoebe English. She's a designer in Deptford, South London. So I was working there for 3 or 4 days, just staying in an Airbnb. I'll get the train from Kings Lynn to King's Cross, work there for 2 or 3 days, then come back and work at Pizza Hut. It's sort of, sorry, I'll just play a video as well while I'm talking. Phoebe English was a great starting point. When I Phoebe's been run for 5-6 years, or maybe longer actually. She got commissioned by V&A to do a exhibition on her work. So as creative as she is, she wanting to show off that creativity in a different format. So she's decided that she wanted to do this small mannequins with the same outfit that she created in the past collections. So it was amazing working with her. So trying to create a miniature version of these full-size garments. And all these garments are labor intensive. So I remember staying there for 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then coming back home and sleeping for a few hours and going back up again. But it was all a learning curve. You have to, again, what Roger said was ringing in my ears about not giving up and wanting to persevere, and that something will come up. And from there on, I finally managed to skip through this video. Finally managed to get a job at Karen Millen.
So just to go back just a sec, Sav. So when you were at Phoebe English, what were your kind of key responsibilities?
Yeah, so as I was a studio assistant, my job role. So I was helping with making or creating patterns, creating sewing garments, or even going up to the store to pick up something, or even actually going into their production factory in North London. They had a few factories there to go up and check the garments and bring some stuff back. And it was really eye-opening experience, because you could make contacts with people. I did put be pleasant, approachable, and make plenty of connections. It's so true, especially in fashion. People might think that fashion is a big universe. It's not. Everyone knows everyone. There was in a place that I worked thus far, someone knew someone I worked with, and they always talk. They always go and ask, what is this person like? So always be open, always be pleasant to anyone you work with, and never burn a bridge. You never know when you might see that person again, or you might want to ask for a reference.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of Karen Millen, you've got interestingly enough, you've got a picture of a load of cakes, bread, and all that stuff.
I will tell the story there. So basically, I'll play this video. It's a bit loud, so just be careful, and then I'll talk you through what was going on here. Oh. So at Karen Millen, my job was again atelier assistant. So it is similar to what a production assistant is. where I was doing a bit of everything. So I was, one day I might be helping with trimming, one day I might be cutting, one day I might be sorting out fabric. So it was one day I might be going to collect laundry. Honestly, trust me, it happened many a times. You have to be able to sort of do anything, you know. So here, the video you just saw was a machine we used at Caramillan where instead of hand cutting, it was a flat bed. So the bed sucks in the fabric, and so the fabric doesn't move. Then it's a laser guided cutting roll that just cuts the fabric with millimeter accuracy. It's cutting edge for fashion. And then the food picture is there just because it didn't do any good for my diet. Every day was baking or cake. Every day there was something going on, the birthday or something. So I thought that always reminded me of Caramillan, like food and table with cutting fabric is just, that's just synonymous with Caramillan. So moving on from, so at Caramillan I was there for a year. My contract was coming to an end, and that's when my my boss asked me, would you like to stay for another year? I was really keen to wanting to stay, but I asked her, was wondering if there's a possibility of getting more money, because I was struggling to live in London with my wage at the time. And they said, oh, there was no way of they can give me any more money, and I was a bit disheartened. But and I thought, okay, this might be a good start. You know, you have sometimes you have to put your make sure you're financially stable as well when you are in that situation. Although
that must have taken a lot to ask for more money.
I know.
How
it is scary. I was scared to ask, but sometimes you got to trust in your gut. Sometimes you got to say that, you know, I've got everything I came for from that place, and sometimes you need to step back and think, like, why am I here for? What is the next goal? I've got my foot in the door. Now I have something on my CV, and so from here I can sort of attract a different a brand or something where I can go into. And I was lucky enough, someone approached me from a recruiting company asking if I want to do sample cutting. So which is what you see on the right hand side here. There's a couple of images. This sample cutting is, the top image is kind of going backwards from Caramillan, because you're using cutting edge technology there, and then you're going to where scissors and fabric, you know, you're cutting actually with your hands all day, every day, which was fun because that learns it's a different skill that you learn. It's about matching. So if it's a fabric that has a check and stuff, you have to try to match checks, which is, you know, is amazing. And also my goal at the end of the day was to become a pattern cutter. So I will tell you what pattern cutter is a bit later on. But here there are patterns on the fabric. Those patterns where I wanting to create. So every day when I was handling those, I was looking at them. I was seeing how it is made, how are things put together. And on the bottom is where we were costing. It was my good friend Richard. I made really good connection with at the time. He was teaching me, he had a wealth of experience. He was teaching me how a garment is costed. So you can tell how much each garment it takes, how much it is to make, and then therefore it helps with to create how much to sell it for.
Great. Thanks, Seth. So this is effectively, this slide has been like your ladder to getting into your current role at M&S. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And just before you answer that, if people have any questions, some of them, the questions have been coming in over the chat. That's brilliant. But if you do have any questions for Sav about anything around his career or the fashion industry, then it would be great if you could ask those over the chat. So please do pop those in. But Sav, yeah, tell us about what you do at M&S.
Yes, of course, yeah. So so after, when I was at Design Warehouse, which was my last job, I got a call from my friend from Caramillan. Again, going back into, you know, being friends with everyone, talking to people. He sort of asked me if I was interested in becoming a pattern cutter at M&S. And I, before even he said anything, I said yes. That was my answer straight away. It was tough because I only started the job for about 5 months at Design Warehouse, and I didn't want to look like your CV has short spurs of different jobs, but I couldn't say no to that because it was a dream opportunity. And so I went in for an interview with my manager at the time. She sort of gave me a task. So it is expected to do a trial day, any creative jobs, especially in fashion. So she gave me a sketch of a skirt, and she asked me, "Oh, can you pattern cut this? And can you make this?" Which was amazing because it was something I knew I could do it, but it's always believing in yourself and telling yourself that you are there for a reason. So got it done, got the job. Here I have a jacket which I recently created for a kids wear collection for Good Move. It's a athleisure collection we done. So on the left is a sketch that designer done, and then at the bottom and the middle images are 3D images, which we'll come to in a bit. It's using again cutting edge technology, so creating plenty of samples, and then you create a pattern for that, which then gets into production, and then the image on the right is what's on the website at the minute. I cannot tell you how it's when you go into a store and see something that you created, it's a different feeling. It just makes you feel like, oh, I accomplished something. I made that happen.
Yeah. Can you show us explain that process to us and then kind of break that down a little bit? Would that be right?
Yeah. So I put down as so what is a digital pattern cutter / 3D modelist do? So it is a pattern cutter was the old job title many people had for not centuries, like decades. And the 3D modelist, a digital pattern cutter, is a new thing where you use the 3D technology to create those instead of using the old technology, old method of paper and scissors. So here I have a T-shirt on the left-hand side. What I'm sort of comparing it to when we were younger, we used to have this a 2D flat template that we turn into box using, cutting it out and folding it in the right places to create that shape. So what I do is that when a designer gives me a sketch, I have to try and figure out, I have to imagine what it would look like on a flat piece of fabric or flat piece of a paper. And then the paper get put on a fabric and they cut it out, and then it gets stitched at the seams to create a 3D model or 3D form. So it's a bit more clear here. So you can see the two left sleeves, the left sleeve and the right sleeve, the two sleeves, a front and a back piece creates this 3D garment. And then once I created the pattern, it got into this software called Optitex, where we simulate the garment on an avatar. It's a digital avatar, so you're not wasting any fabric and doing physical sampling, and therefore cutting out cost.
Cool. Could you? I know you've got a video of that. Can you show us that process? We've got a few minutes left, so if you could maybe show us this for a couple of minutes, and then it would be great if you tell us a bit about kind of opportunities in the fashion industry as well.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
Of course, yeah. So here I've got a jeans that going on a men's mannequin. So it's men's jeans. So what I've already created the patterns. The designer will give me a sketch, and then I'll have to think, how big the pockets need to be, and how narrow or loose the legs need to be, and according to designer's specifications. And then that get created into patterns, and then on this software I can create stitches, so I can tell the side seams of the legs to be stitched to the side seam of the back leg, and the inside to the inside. That's way basically you're cutting out. I'll skip through a bit, otherwise it will be here for a long time. So that way we're not creating any physical samples, and so we're saving time, as well as we are not it's most of the cases, if a company doesn't have a studio in their in-house studio, it gets sent to Bangladesh, India, or China to create the sample. It creates so much time, as well as bad for the environment. This way, you can see all those fabric parameters like rigidity, how stretchy the fabric is, everything that can be read from this exact sample, from this sample. So once it gets created, I stitch it, and then a designer and I will sit together and we'll work out, how it is looking, if there need to be any changes, if there need design changes, like it need to be looser, tighter, or the trims need to be different colors, or the top stitching need to be different color. You can, personalize it as much as you want here. And also you can read really well how it looks and what sort of imagery you're going for. And also here, it kind of shows the fit of the garment as well. So this blue and green line shows how tight it is to the body.
Oh, that's really cool. Thank you for running us through that. Can you, I know that we've just gone over 4 o'clock, so some people might have to leave us at this point, and if that's the case, then thank you for joining us, and please do feel free to watch the rest of the Q&A session and the run through of the careers in your own time when you receive the recording. But if you would be able to stick with us for another just around 15 minutes or just under that, we'll look to kind of review those careers and then look to answer some of the questions that have been put to Sav. So Sav, back to you, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'll just put down a few of the key jobs that's available within fashion industry. When I was coming up, I thought, fashion designer, all they do is designing clothes, but it's just more than that. So, there's designers, there's print designers who creates the actual fabric print of the garment, and there's pattern cutter, which I just explained, machinists who machine up stuff, and then there's technologist. Technology is a bit of a hard one to people to know what it is. It's actually someone who works very closely with the pattern cutter and designer and identify the right fabric for a product, as well as testing the fabric to create like care labels. And also, especially when it comes to kids wear designing, there are so many guidelines to follow, and the technologists will look at those guidelines and see how long a cord of a hoodie can be, or how big a circle of a skirt can be, because it could cause triposads and whatnot. And then this buyer, we all know the famous buyer, Rachel from Friends. I've said that joke many times now.
Never gets old.
Yeah, merchandiser who allocates products according to previous sales data. So their job is to forecast the revenue and work out margin for a product to sell to. The buyer will help with that. A stylist and a marketing, it's all about working on e-com shoots or publication shoots and create a buzz around the product and the brand, and gets it to the people as much as possible.
Great. So thank you so much for giving us that kind of whistle-stop tour.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I had to run through quickly just so that.
No, that's great. It's really rich stuff. So thank you, mate. So we've had a bunch of questions come through. Thank you very much for sending them over. So I'm going to ask you some. You may or may not know the answer to some of these. So I'm going to be really interested to see how you respond. In a fashion degree, do you cover every aspect of fashion, such as the design and the marketing side?
Okay, so a fashion degree is, you will cover marketing side a little bit, but there are marketing courses available just for that. So there are buying and merchandising, which, and also there are other fashion degree. I think within newer, there is a new one that was starting when I think I was in second year or third year. There's a new one that started. I can't exactly remember the course name, but there is.
That's all right. I can help you out here. So yes, there's also fashion communication and promotion for those that are more interested in marketing and creating visual assets for that. And there's also fashion marketing and business. for those that are more interested in looking at brand strategizing. That's less creative and it's more the business orientated end of fashion. But what did you do within your fashion degree? What kind of, you maybe looked at an element of kind of photography and promotional based work as well as the designing and cutting skills?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So once you create, so you do basically from start to finish. So it could be starting with a sketch. So you'll be doing some collages and then creating shapes, and then that will lead into doing some sketches. So illustration, so that's a key skill to have. And then you will create a patterns for the garment, and then you will do sewing. So to create the initial garment, and then you finalize them and create the final garment. And then it's all about creating a look for the garment. So you could be going to the photo shoot. So you can see if you're on previous images where we went to Barbican and done some photo shoots as well as for that. And also within Norwich as well, we've done plenty of photo shoots when, as a group project as well as individual projects. So, you create, you do everything. And like I said, you do dissertation as well. So it sort of help you with the communication, writing skills, which is extremely key when you're starting a job. I was just talking to Tom about presentation skills. Something else comes in as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you, mate. So we've had a few more questions. So what did you learn about the importance of sustainability throughout your career?
Oh, yeah. So sustainability is, I think I didn't learn much when I was at Karen Millen or Design Warehouse, but Phoebe English was extremely conscious about sustainability and wanting to make sure the products are created in a sustainable way, as well as she done a lot of using this old fabric from different collection from old designers and recreating the style. And she was very conscious, and she done a lot of made to measure as well. So you're not just wasting fabric for anything, and you're not throwing that away. And with the current job, M&S, I have to say that they are on top of it. We have a special section within our industry where they look into sustainable garments, sustainable products, sustainable print and dyes and stuff to use. And also why using the 3D software, you're not creating any physical garments, which is, it creates so much, it's so much environment friendly when you're thinking about flying a garment from Bangladesh to UK just to see what it looks like, and for it to be changed and go back to Bangladesh to create another one and coming back again. So it could be, it's so much more conscious, and everyone is conscious nowadays.
It's really interesting you say that, because you said to me that this is only a relatively recent thing within the fashion industry as well, like the introduction of this type of software.
Yeah.
That 4 or 5 years ago we might not have seen this used at all, and now all of a sudden things have gone a lot more digital in terms of design, which is made things a lot more environmentally friendly. Yeah,
100%. Coming into from newer, we didn't have the opportunity at the time to learn digital pattern cutting. It was all in using your hands and paper to cut. So that is key, very key to learn it in that. That's how you should be learning at the first instance, and then you should be taking that into a digital software to learn it the new way, because that's what industry standard is. 2D pattern cutting has been around for a long time, using computer to do 2D pattern cutting, but the 3D, like Tom said, it is quite new. Nike and Adidas are quite far forward in that sense, and there are plenty other softwares out there. There are the key one is CLO, CLO. Cloud 3D. It's very good for students as well. If anyone is interested, you can tons of tutorials on YouTube. You can download it. You get a month free, and also I think if you're a student, you get a cheaper rate as well.
Cool, that's really useful, and that's something that we're introducing on our fashion course now.
That's right. Well.
Yeah. Great, thank you for that, Sav. That's great. So we've got a few more questions. So let's go to some of the meatier ones. Just be a moment. So do you have to be good at drawing to go into the fashion industry?
No,
Okay, that's
That
enough.
yeah,
Do you want
that
to embellish on that just ever so slightly?
yeah, of course, I will. I will. That's the short answer is no. I am not good at drawing. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I am. It's all about mark making. It's all about showing what's in your head as clearly and concisely as possible on a picture, and communicating that to the person next to you. You know, as long as you can do that in different ways. It could be to do with collages that, and I've set up collages a lot because I've used it a lot, you know, having just cutting out stuff and putting it on a paper and seeing what it does, creating a shape is, then you can tell your tutor that, oh, this is what I'm trying to create. And then you can add those details of pockets and where the seam should be. And from there, you can create anything. You know, you don't have to be good at drawing. As long as you can communicate what's in your mind to the person next to you in any way or form you can, or using a digital tool as well. So if you're using any of these softwares, you know, you don't even have to draw anything. You can just do the patterns and show it to people, which is a lot more clearer.
Great, thank you, mate. So we've got a bunch of more questions. So I'm going to have to speed you up a little bit, and I'm going to have to speed myself up a little bit as well. So what's the most important skill for becoming a successful fashion designer?
Oh, important skill. This might sound a bit weird, but just be open to things, and just be wanting to take in what's out there. You know, when you're going through a course, try and understand every different bit of fashion design. It's not just the designing. You know, you need to know holistically what's happening. So knowing a fashion design is not just about designing. It's about creating the patterns, and it's about sewing the garment, and then it's about fitting the garment, and about selling as well. As a fashion designer, you need to learn, if the garment is not selling, then you quickly need to understand, why is it not selling? Is it the size? Is it the fit? Can I change anything? Or is it the fabric I chose? Should it be expensive fabric? Should it be cheaper fabric? And, you know, there are so many things that understanding how a business works sort of give you a holistic view. I don't want to go too much into it.
So that I'm going to summarize that. So it really depends on the area of fashion that you go into, which will make you, I guess, be a strong designer in that part of the chain. Does that make sense?
Course, yeah. And also within design as well, there is, you know, menswear, there's kidswear, there's women's wear, and they're all different slightly. You know, kidswear is, you know, to understand more about the safety side of things, you know, which is something I never thought about before starting a job here.
So thank you for that, mate. So I've got loads more questions. I'm so sorry, everybody. We're not going to have a chance to answer all of them, but if you do want to put them to Sav, then please just drop us an email at student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk. I'll go through that again at the end, and we'll put that into the chat. And what we'll do is we'll look to get your questions answered that way. So a few more. What are your top tips for choosing a university, and do you recommend doing a gap year?
So definitely go to plenty of open days. Go and talk to students who's doing the course. Just understand what the course is all about. Understand everything that's involved in the course. Read through the brochures and go to the area actually, and you'll see it's not just the university. It's all about what's around the university as well. You know, I love Newark because it's right in the center of Norwich, and everything is in. I remember saying, anyone calls me up, like, where are you? It's like 20 minutes away. Because everywhere in Norwich is 20 minutes away. So understanding, like, you know, where, you know, how the university runs and the courses. Sorry, what the other one, Tom? Sorry.
And would you recommend a gap year?
Would I recommend a gap year? For me, I went to uni way later than anyone else. I graduated when I was 25. So personally, I would, because it gives you time to think about what you want to do. So you're not rushing into things. But some people like to go to university straight after sixth form or college or whatever. I think it depends upon, if you know what you want to do, then go into it, you know?
Yeah. Sav, I thank you so much for answering those questions. And I apologize, everybody. We've had some really good questions that have come in around sustainability and fashion, and whether what cutting skills look like nowadays in the industry, all sorts of things. If you do want to ask those questions, please put them to us and we'll look to get them answered. We'll forward them on to Sav. I'm just going to close now with a little bit of housekeeping once again, and then we're going to end the session. So before we finish up today, I want to remind you that we have a number of talks as part of the Ignite series that you might want to get involved in. They cover all sorts of different subjects, from TV, animation, games, fashion, photography, and textiles, to give you a bit of an insight into how the industry works and the type of jobs that are out there. So if you're interested, you can sign up for the additional talks on our website. That's www.nua.ac.uk/events/all/Ignite series. That will be put into the chat very shortly by my wonderful colleague, Emma. You can also get an idea of the creative careers you might want to go into. Sav listed some for fashion, but we're going to send you a link now in the chat for the our Your Creative Future booklet, which gives you a comprehensive list of all sorts of creative careers you might be interested in. Also, you might want to pass on this following link to your teachers, which includes a bunch of activities that might be really useful for your course mates and yourself around portfolio advice and careers in the creative industries, and Q&As with our current students at NUA as well. That might be of interest. So rather than me reading that out, Emma, if you could pop that in the chat, that would be wonderful. We also have our Beyond the Frame photography competition. This is open to all creative students, not just photographers, and there's some great prizes on offer. The deadline for it is the 25th of June, so you've got plenty of time to create some interesting work around the theme of community. So Emma, if you could pop that in the chat as well, that would be wonderful for Beyond the Frame. Other than that, if you could spend a few moments filling out the feedback form for us, we'd really appreciate that, because we really need to learn how to make these as good as they can be. And lastly, if you have any questions around this series, or would like to know about more creative subject areas, or you're interested in finding out anything more about NUA, then please email us at student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk. And also, if you have any questions for Sav that you would like answering, then please drop them to us over that email address. And Emma's popped that into the chat. What a hero. Other than that, we are going to wrap things up there. But once again, Sav, I want to thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed listening to this talk. I've really enjoyed finding out more about the fashion industry and about your perspective and the challenges that you've overcome. So thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, man. Really appreciate, asking me.
Absolute pleasure. We'll catch up afterwards.
Yeah.
Other than that, everybody, we hope to see you again next week at 3:30. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.